Oh, another exciting day, I must tell you. I hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. You're being reached here from Forest Studios in the heart of Lagos, Lekki to be precise. Like we always do, we'll bring you some of the best minds in the areas of sports and general interest. And it's, of course, a great honor to introduce the man of many parts, former AFN president, a great investor in developmental sports in Nigeria, ambassador to so many organizations that appreciate good things that life has to offer. Let me welcome Dan Ngerem, legendary Dan Ngerem.
Thank you very much for those superlatives. Just ordinary Dan Ngerem. Thank you very much, Felix.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't realize you actually played tennis for CKC Onitsha.
Yes.
And Eastern Nigeria, Central State of Nigeria then.
Then East Central State, actually. I was invited for football, athletics, and tennis. And I remember my coach telling me then, come to my parents and say, listen, tennis you can play until you're 100, but athletics before you're 30, you're gone. Football, same. So I eventually veered towards tennis and ended up captaining the men's team of East Central State in those days.
Well, that's on a personal note. When we'll one day dwell on this. But again, one other thing Dan has done over time that has impressed me was the sponsorship of the Caddies at the Ikoyi Golf Club. A lot of people forget that these little boys, those kids that do a lot of things that impact on our life actually deserve some mention. What really inspired you to that?
No, what inspired me was I was a ball boy. I had tennis courts close to my house, so I used to go pick balls, and we paid pittance, I think, in those days. But what I found out was that the people picking tennis balls and the members themselves, who were medical doctors, well-heeled people in the society, was actually a team. So in the Ikoyi Club, when I made some small money, I started sponsoring ball boys and coaches, because often the members have tons of tournaments, but these people are often forgotten. So that's what I took also to golf, to also try and sponsor these caddies that are actually 50% of the golf section, as it were, because those men, average age is about 50, they can't carry their bags. So it's inclusion and inclusiveness, so to speak.
Fantastic. Now, there has been major issues in sports. You are a former AFN president, and also you fund youth development when you talk about sports. What has been the problem? We've been struggling with the Olympics, with the All Africa Games. Okay, we've been doing well relatively in the All Africa Games, but we've not picked any gold medals after a very long time. Decades have passed.
No, it's a perennial problem, and we're all hiding behind a finger. The problem is still there. In fact, these days when people, if not for you, because you've been in the trenches like all of us, I normally tell people to please refer to my interviews of 10 years, 15 years ago, because the problems are still there. And what are the fundamentals? There is absolutely no policy framework in sports. Even if there is one, it's punctuated. And people just manipulate it for their own selfish ends. It's simplicity. We've had many avenues to improve. We've had seminars, Presidential Advisory Committee on Sport, Vision 2010, Ogbemudia Committee, Ikazabo. I served in one with General Shola Williams in 2007. All the documents are there. But what I've found out is that people simply don't want to do the right thing. As we speak, I want anybody to point to me what the policy document and direction of Nigerian sports is. What's our architecture for sports? It's totally non-existent. I can tell you, as I'm coming to this program today, I scanned some of the sports websites, and there's practically nothing there. There's no policy trust, there's no policy direction, there's no program. Where are the athletes? If you want to support anybody, you don't know where to go.
You were the AFN president. You were the AFN president. Of course, that's been many years gone. But we're not springing up new talents anymore. I know those days we used to do the Open, the Mobile Open at that time. There was been a lot of contests. I used to go and watch. For years. But what has happened?
No, again, policy confusion, policy somersault, lack of direction. Why am I saying so? If you don't have a credible platform, even corporates, high net worth individuals are not going to fund you, even under corporate social responsibility platforms. Why? You must be accountable for the money they're giving you. They have to be able to defend the budget at the board level. But if it's an atmosphere of confusion and an atmosphere of lack of corporate governance, international best practices, accountability, nobody's going to fund you. It is that simple. We have to come back to center where you're giving money to do anything. There's a policy to back it up. You do what you're supposed to do, you account for it. I bet you there are Nigerians that want to support sports, but you don't support sports in an atmosphere of confusion. I just asked you now, can anybody point to me, look at any website from the National Olympic Committee to the National Sports Commission to the federating units of sport? There's nothing. If there's any athlete I want to support now, I don't know where they are. They don't know where they are. Who's coaching them? What's their coaching crew? What's their needs? Sports is not a secret society. It should be out there in the open. But what I've realized is that people do nothing. They just wait for cycles of government budget, government money, spend it over a 2-week competition period, and just go into limbo. It's as simple as that. We waste billions over 2 weeks of competition, where people travel with retinue, retainers, hangers-on, people that have no business with sports. But what of preparation? How do you get these athletes to prime them to perfection? Nobody talks about it. But once it's time for competition, you see billions.
Everybody travels.
Okay.
But I look at it, we all fought for the National Sports Commission. That's been something everybody has been looking at. Oh, the ministry wouldn't work and all that and all. Now we have the Sports Commission. What should they be doing?
First, it's an aberration that you can have 2 people running a National Sports Commission without a board. It's like running a major corporation with billions of naira or multi-million-dollar corporation without a board. You've got to have a board. You have to have principled people with corporate experience to direct the affairs of National Sports Commission. We all fought for it, various committees. Mine, for example, chaired by General Ishola Williams. We all fought for it. Now that is here, why do you have the chairman and the DG and nobody else? And they're going to manage billions and billions of naira. What's their historical antecedents in corporate Nigeria? These are the benchmarks of performance. These are the benchmarks of success that people are going to look at. We know ourselves, okay? So when you approach a corporate entity to say, I want you to fund me, for example, where is the Team Nigeria concerned?
Yeah, actually,
you should be driving that process. Yeah. But when you walk up and say, I'm chairman of NSC, they ask you, where is your board? You don't have a board. Because I'm not going to deal with you. Because ab initio, there's no corporate governance. There's no international best practices. And in such atmosphere of inaction and lack of anything really, so to speak, I know there will be no accountability. So fundamentally, as a putting together that National Sports Commission, the board should be there to account. You don't leave the executives alone to run roughshod over multi-billion-dollar concept or corporation or National Sports Commission. Call it what you like. But it doesn't happen in vacuum.
Yeah, the big question is who should constitute the board? Is it the chairman or the DG, or is it the federal government the same way they came? Who are really appointed? I know there's a document that says so and so people should be on the board. So who activates that?
We're hiding behind a finger. Whoever appointed the DG and the chairman should put this up in issue. Come on. What are we talking about? Like I said, I'm likely with drop arrows with companies. Why would you have 100 billion naira situation or 50 billion or whatever, even if it's 1 naira, and you have no accountability, you have only the executives running it. Why should it be so? So whoever put together the structure, there's an intrinsic architecture for National Sports Commission that is impremature in all the documents. Like I said, Bermuda Report, Vision 2020, Ikazebo, the one I served in, name it, is there. So why would you not have a board to oversee fundamentally what you're doing? And let me tell you the fallout, the negative conundrum of all that is that corporate organizations are not going to talk to you. If I'm a high net worth individual, I'm not going to talk to you. Why? You do not have a board. You're not accountable. In today's world, in today's internet world, where we're all connected, information highway, information is disseminated in near real time, as it were. Everybody knows what's going on. So why wouldn't you be accountable? Why wouldn't you have a board when you're setting up these things? So who would manage the money that is being voted? That is why, like I said, I looked at all the federating units website, the National Sports Commission, the National Olympic. I can't see any policy trust. I can't see any policy direction. I can't see any way to help the athletes. But come Olympics, come any major international sports competition, Nigeria will spend billions. People are going to stay in 5-star hotels. And let me give you a quintessential example of how these things work. I remember in Athens Olympics, I didn't have accreditation. Yeah. I'm supposed to have accreditation as president of Nigerian Athletics Federation. My accreditation was given to a politician who had nothing to do with athletics, had nothing to do with athletes. In fact, I had to see my athletes through fellow presidents of federations. I think I saw them through the Senegalese president when I gave them a tape of the 2000 Olympics where Anefiok anchored that gold medal so that he can inspire the athlete. So these are some of the confusion that bellies whatever we're doing. And I won't blame them. Why? When they vote this money, they are not accountable to the athletes. They're not accountable to the coaches. They're not accountable to anybody. They're accountable to people in the National Assembly. So fundamentally, they're going to seek and focus in those areas. So it is pathetic, it is painful, nothing has changed.
Interesting. That's why a lot of people have actually called for a board, a national board to be established. So that's, I mean, there should be an oversight function. Somebody should supervise what is happening in those areas. But
well, the reason is, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, is that Nigeria cannot fund sports, given the competing needs, given our totality of our debt profile and our debt issues. So corporates have to come in. People must fund sports. But like I said initially, even under corporate social responsibility, if you don't have corporate governance, if you don't have international best practice, if you're not accountable, where they'll give you 1,000 naira, they might give you 20 naira to just go and try and get off their backs on the CSR. But if you organize, if you have a board where we know corporate players in Nigeria who the government can approach, even if they're politicians, but we know their history in corporate Nigeria, and there's a board, why won't people support? And also, there's a lacuna where I think I was involved in that pursuit. Anything you spend in sports is tax deductible. Yeah. Why are they not pursuing it? Why is there no document? Why can't we find that document anywhere? All the things I spend in sports, I'd like to have it tax deductible.
Absolutely.
You know, but why can't they pursue that? Why can't they make it open? Sports is not a secret society.
Yeah, but again,
why the opaqueness?
Who should hold that? Is it the Federal Inland Revenue? Or
no.
Who
Those
should hold those documents?
The National Sports Commission has constituted
should sign up
the board.
Yeah.
No, it's been signed off under Obasanjo.
No, when a corporate, for instance, does that, who signs up for the...
No, there's no document. It's there. Why they don't want to pursue it is that if a corporate gives you money, you must account for it. Absolutely. Otherwise, you're not going to get it anymore.
Yeah.
So it is not in the best interest of those administering our sports to have money coming from corporate Nigeria, because they're going to ask you to account for it. And that is, by the way, why Team Nigeria concept, well articulated and imprimatur, is practically non-existent today, because monies put in there must of necessity be accounted for. And government cannot drive sports alone in today's world. So let them get a board, drive the processes, put a plan together that everybody can understand. It is that simple.
But, you know, incidentally, I'll rather come back to you again on your AFN administration. You attracted a couple of sponsors. Why were you able to sustain them? Because now most AFN is either from a state where the governor has to directly fund those activities. I'm not sure there's any corporate partnership with the Athletic Federation you left.
Again, this is why I keep talking about corporate players in Nigeria. During my time, for example, there was a lot of talk about fraud, about people not accounting for money. So I asked my bank to write to sponsors and tell them, if you sponsor athletics and the money you give us is not used for the purpose it was meant for, I, as the president, will return the money. It was that simple. And during my time, we got all the money we wanted, both locally and internationally. And when we were leaving, we left millions and millions of naira in the coffers of the Federation. Like I keep saying, Nigerians are good people. Most of the corporate players and chief executives benefited from school system, where the colonial masters put together a framework to run sports from primary all the way to the university. So they want to give money. But like I keep saying, nobody will give money in an atmosphere that is fractured, in an atmosphere that you can account for anything, or where you have policy confusion, policy somersault, or no policy at all, as it were, like we're pursuing now. I challenge anybody to tell me what we are running in Nigeria. Point me to the website or to the anywhere online in today's world where everything is online. Tell me where I can say it.
Well, in a few words, let's say, what would you advise if we're going to fix this? How do we fix it? Because, yeah, we all talk about the fractured nature and all that. What do we do? How do we start?
Again, it is very, very simple.
Okay.
Where is your policy? Where is your sports architecture? Make it open.
Yeah.
It is there in various reports attracting dust in the ministry. Now that we've coalesced into National Sports Commission, please get a board with corporate players who understand corporate environment in Nigeria, so that the corporates and high net worth individuals, by the way, would have confidence in the structure you are running. From there, you now know where your athletes say. I can pose a question to you. Felix, you're in the trenches with us.
Yeah.
When I was president of Athletics Federation of Nigeria, where are our athletes today? Why can't it be open?
Yeah.
If I want to support any athlete, where is the athlete? Where is the coaching crew? Who's handling them? Nobody knows. Everything is in the air. And that is why the athletes are defecting. That is why they're going to other nations that are serious, because this thing takes a gestation period. Nigeria should stop the shotgun approach to sports, where we spent, I call it waste billions over a 2-week period of international competition. We come back and everybody goes to sleep. It shouldn't happen.
I agree. This is something I think we should. There has been a lot of presidential talks and all that in sports, but nothing seems to be.
We're hiding.
We're not. Yeah, but I mean, why can't we just get it right? What do we do? Because it's really becoming a problem. We go for competitions. We're losing out.
Just for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We spend all the money, stay in 5-star hotels, but today, can I see the budget for the athletes? Can I see the athletes? Where are they? What are the benchmarks you've given them? And then, by the way, those populating our sports federating units, some of them go there to hang around and do nothing. They should have benchmarks of their deliverables before you come into as a board member of a sporting unit, so that if you don't deliver, you're fired. And also, I don't know the parameters for the NSC chairman now or the DG. Can they be fired, or is it now a government, quasi-government institution? I'd like to see benchmarks where they go to the next Olympics, they don't win medals, they're fired. That's the way corporate organizations and serious-minded people would understand it. Give you benchmarks for deliverables. You don't deliver, you're fired, another person comes in. But let them get a board to monitor these two gentlemen that are going to manage billions and billions. Otherwise, we might end up where we've always been.
I mean, it's really becoming a major problem, and I don't know how we're going to fix it. Well, you have given your own suggestion. Let's start off with the architecture. Let's see the documents, and then hopefully we can start writing on those documents.
Yes, and create money to support
the athletes.
You know, sports is not only competition.
Yeah.
There's a build. In fact, it takes about 8 years to train an Olympic athlete. So it's not a 2-week event. It's not that 4 years to the Olympics, you don't know where the athletes are, you don't know where they are doing. And there's a fundamental problem. Our athletes are managed by European managers.
Yeah.
Nigeria must understand that. The European managers are businessmen like me and you. They want to make money. So unless you go to them, negotiate and say, listen, this athlete ahead of the Olympics, do only 3 races that will prime you to the competition. But you must compensate those managers. Otherwise, instead of doing 3, they might let those athletes run 20 competition because
and burnout.
When you need them, they just come there, collect your allowances and go home, and nothing will happen. That we need to correct and correct course now.
That's the only way we can finish. We can get to the podium. We need to do the right thing. And it's been a struggle. Tears every time in Nigeria after every competition. But before we go, let's look at the issue of drugs. Drug has become a problem in athletics and sports in general in Nigeria. Is there any way? Is it lack of education? Does the athletes, are they aware? What's really happening? Because a lot of them come crying. We didn't know when this happened.
Yes. I'll give you a simple example. Those running sports must be proactive. I remember then, I was living in Victoria Island, but I would drive to Surulere early in the mornings and use binoculars and watch the athletes train. That's when I noticed the drug culture. Okay? What I did was to approach Dora Akunyili of blessed memory and say, come talk to this people. Punishment is good, but educate first before you punish.
Yeah.
She came and gave a lecture. Even when we wanted to pay for our transport, for accommodation, she said, please, this is so dear to me, don't do it. I challenge those running our sports to make sure they have a doping program where first educate the athletes on a constant basis so that they will appreciate that sports is only a short time period in their lives. There's life after sports, so they don't destroy themselves. And then if you're caught doping, you not only mess up yourself, you mess up your family, mess up your country. It's just not worth it. But again, can we have that program where everybody can understand it? Make it, sports is not an opaque business. If you go to other countries' website, it's all there. So make it open, let people advise, partner with NDLE, partner with the one Dora Akunyili ran, what is the name? NAFDAC. They are there to help you. They have programs. But unless you articulate it, place it on the table, there'll be an atmosphere of confusion. Why? The athletes want to win and win at all costs. And let me tell you, during my time also, during trials for the Olympics, I used to bring the doping director of International Athletics Federation, Dr. Dolly. In fact, when I bring Dr. Dolly, I will hide him in the hotel, and he will surface on the day of the competition. And I bet you most of the elite athletes that came in from the US and from Europe all disappeared because they knew we have a doping system
in place
that was robust, that we want people to win fairly. I want them to reintroduce that. But first educate about the dangers of drug abuse and doping, and then punish appropriately.
Thank you very much, Dan Ngerem. Of course, I call him a mastermind. He's always there to tell us how it is. He did so well in athletics and other aspects of sports. Ladies and gentlemen, join us next time for another exciting moment with another mastermind on the show. Have a blessed day.